The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
Okay, folks, welcome to the crap. I'm going to ask you to do today a gut check. Yeah, a gut check. I want you to be totally candid, totally honest. Because if we can't be honest and transparent with each other, what the hell are we doing here anyway? I'm going to cover some more of this stuff going on in Lindell, but I want your advice first on how to do it. By the way, will you please follow the program, share the program, rumble the program, like the program? We've got a lot just to talk about, just to be transparent with each other on all of this. Please. Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. I'm telling you, I am very concerned that something might happen in the relatively near future with our currency system in the United States. I've been monitoring it for years, and I've been hearing that if we ever did make a shift in our monetary means, that all of us would lose a certain amount. I've heard as high as 37%. And a net adjustment basically means for every dollar you have in the bank, if the government decides to go to a different monetary system, digital or whatever, that dollar is going to be trimmed that you have, balance in your bank account by 37 cents. And it can kind of balance everything out and whatever. I don't know how that's legal, but you know what? It's not illegal. They can actually do it. And so I'm asking you, right? And yeah, it just so you know, it would do the same at your home, right? It would do the same at the home. Yeah. So if you have nothing, you're going to be negative 37%. You're right. Also, the government before has taken fiat, paper dollars, and then said they're worth nothing. So let's say you got $100,000 stuffed in a mattress. Won't be worth a hoo-hoo. Folks, I'm asking you, would you please go to jovanlovesgold.com? Just get your free information. Nothing is keeping you from lifting your finger and going to that link below And if now is not the time to protect your money with gold and silver, when is? When is? When the bottom falls out, I think it'd kind of be too late. Quit putting it off. Quit putting it off. And by the way, you might actually find you'll get $10,000 free silver if you do it. It's a way to do it. You know, if you want money out of your retirement and you did it right now, they're going to ping you. They're going to ding you up to 50% to take your own money out. I just think that's a racket. Don't do it. We've got a holiday coming up, Father's Day. Many people, right? Many people love it when dad gets to cook. Dad may be cooking on the weekend. I want to tell you about Chef IQ, right? Chef IQ. Sometimes I fumble it and said Chief IQ. It's Chef IQ. You know, the hardest part about cooking or barbecuing meat or steaks or chicken or fish, when you're tethered to a hot stove or a barbecue sweating, it's the constantly checking it, right? The constantly checking it. Singeing your eyebrows, hair on your hands, whatever the case may be. Then you got to serve it, and all of a sudden, half of it's beef jerky and half of it's blood rare. Those days are gone with Chef IQ. With Chef IQ, you might actually join the Food Network, and then you'll be the chief. Hey, how about that? Chef IQ is a brilliantly simple cooking sensor that goes into whatever you're cooking. It's kind of like a meat thermometer, but it's wireless and way smarter. It takes the stress out of not knowing if your meat will come out perfect. What you do is you just kind of poke it, right? You enter it into whatever you're cooking, put the little sensor in, enter it into the Chef IQ Sense app. You get to choose how you like it cooked, well done, medium, rare, total rare, whatever. And Chef IQ continuously monitors and predicts precisely when the food will be done. No checking or rechecking a hot oven or sweating over a barbecue or frying pan or air fryer. You can kind of kick back, have a beer, take it easy, watch the birds. Chef IQ sends an alert to your smartphone. That's how it works. So when your steak or your chicken or your seafood are cooked to your order, you're alerted. Here's a code for you. You can go to chefiq.com, chefiq.com, use your promo code Jovan for 15% off. And what they're doing right now with this world's smartest, simplest to use wireless cooking sensor is they've announced a flash sale. So it's only going to last for a very limited time. This is the perfect Father's Day gift. So during this flash sale, Father's Day, folks, move now. You'll get 15% off Chef IQ with promo code Jovan. Again, it's Chef IQ promo code Jovan. Do it. Yeah, and sometimes dyslexic, I say chief, but hey, it's chef. But then again, I pray to dog. Hopefully you got that one. Anyway, here, zap a code. It'll take you right there. I like barbecuing. I was watching the chat before starting the program. Somebody talked about Father's Day or through the 4th on the coast and having a lobster pit or a lobster bake. Oh man, I love lobster. You better believe. And conch, have you ever had conch from the ocean? You know, those are the big shells like the out of, right? Conch. Oh man. Grilled lobster. You've ruined me for the day. Who in the hell said that? Artist, did you say that? You've ruined me for the day because I'm going to be thinking about grilled damn lobster all day long. Sounds good, doesn't it? Hey, I got one more for you. Especially if you're stressing over all this stuff we're talking about, government stuff, potential war stuff, right? Musk and Elon fighting, liberals, riots in LA coming to a city near you, Mike Lindell trial, any of this. We've got CB Distillery going again, right? I love this stuff. If you're still tossing and turning at night or feeling edgy during the day, you need CBD from CB Distillery. Millions of people are turning to their CBD for relief because it works. And in fact, right? In fact, well, 90% of customers report better sleep with CBD. And it's not just sleep. CBD Distillery offers targeted formulas, formulations for sleep or stress or mood and focus, pain after exercise. They even have CBD for pets. And it's all made with the highest quality, clean ingredients, no fillers, just premium CBD. And you know, my go-to, I have my own personal go-to, made a total difference in my life. There it is right there, the relief stick. Roll on CBD right there. This stuff is the bomb, but you better hustle now because every time I do this, this sells out. You must order multiple. It is the bomb, baby. I'm telling you. Ask people in chat. So if you're struggling with sleep, stress, or other health concerns and haven't found relief, make the change like millions are to CBD from CB Distillery. And for a limited time, you can save 25% off your entire purchase. Visit CB Distillery. That's cbdistillery.com. Use promo code Jovan, cbdistillery.com, promo code Jovan, right? cbdistillery.com. How about that? It might have some individual state regulations. They'll tell you from the website when you get there if you're in one of those states that do that. Okay, here's the deal. I'm going to piss off people again. You know how I've been covering sometimes conservatives, well, maybe not. Sometimes conservatives, I just don't think right. They think right. And I'm telling you, I've caught some wanky crap in trying to just keep you up to date. And that's why I asked the question, right? About, Mike Lindell's doing his, having his lawsuit, Coomer and Dominion and all that stuff. So many people have lost on this. And so I started doing, just some updates on Lindell versus Coomer and, 12 angry voters. And it's going to be a jury trial, multiple parts, and talking about the people in it all the way down to, is Mike his own worst witness ever? We're going to talk about the hate I'm getting. And it's why I'm asking you this question. Which T do you choose? Team player or truth and transparency? I want you to think about it. And I want you to answer me honestly, because some people are really hating on me for being truthful and transparent. Share this program right now. We're going to get started. Give you 2 minutes to let everybody in. I'm telling you, I'm going to drop some more bombs on you. Share it. Let's get started right after this short.
This crazy world is telling you your sons can be daughters and your daughters can be your sons. When will the madness stop? Never. So you have to decide, will you comply or defy? They tell us all, you will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible. This bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality full color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once. And have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your families for decade after decade. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. Side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres, the Food Force Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, softcover, or ebook. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system.
Warning. The following program has been rated Gilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Hey, folks, welcome to the crap. I've got a question for you, and I would just appreciate it if you'd be honest. And it's okay, whichever one you have, that's up to you. Which T do you choose? Don't put trans, don't put titties. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about, do you do things in life because you want to be a team player? Or are you about truth and transparency? I called this the MAGA mess. And I'll tell you why. A little bit of housekeeping first. One, Sly Stone has passed, 84 years old. And of course, you know, he beat himself to death with drugs. But talk about a man that really impacted music. There's a documentary, I think it may be on Netflix somewhere, about Sly and Family Stone. Sometimes I'd wish we'd just get back to good music, right? But Sly Stone has passed. And if you want to watch a really good documentary, there was so much I didn't know about him and his philosophy. That guy was one smart dude. Yes, he went higher. He's moved on. Right? But if you enjoy his music, and I don't know many who don't, and it just makes you move, that's what he was good at. I think what you would like, even though, you know, he had drug and alcohol problems, I think what you would like is to hear the man really speak in interviews that you may have not seen because you were too young or may have forgot or whatever. It just didn't make the rounds because we didn't have all the media we have now. It's a really good watch. Really good watch. And I personally like music like that because I think today music, just like many of you, sucks. Speaking of sucking, well, not quite. Well, you know, I shared with you this Kamala for the People logo. I want to let you know it is real. I didn't make it up. You can fact check it, right? People thought they saw wrenches until you look a little closer. Some people told me it's very appropriate for Kamala to be in the middle of that, but I want to let you know, it wasn't a joke. It's a true icon somebody designed for her campaigning. Maybe art is imitating life. I don't know. But what's in it? Yeah, Kamala's in the middle. Go figure. Okay. So I've been covering Mike Lindell's trial. Right? And Somebody says, I see a Jewish star. I do not see you in the middle of that, Denise, but I'll think about it. Anyway. Oh. So I've been covering Mike Lindell's trial. Right? And just giving you facts about the people, places, and things. And it's amazing how many people have decided that I'm either being a meanie or I'm being disloyal. You're being a meanie. That may indicate that you actually have more liberal feelings than you think. But it's what has me to the point, right? Has me to the point that I just want to know, which team do you choose? Are you a team player and you just do what the team does? Isn't that what the media did to us all this time and has done and continues to do? There's no riots in LA. It's all being managed. Isn't that what we detest in the left? Or are you about truth and transparency? See, I think I'm wired differently. I personally value truth and transparency. If somebody has something bad or hurtful today, just freaking say it. Get it out. Don't tell me some long story. Don't apologize. Just get it out so you can deal with it. Right? That's the way I am. Right? If you had bad news, don't draw it out. Just boom, go with it. And the one thing I've learned is every time I have ignored the truth in my life, and I'll just be very candid with you, very candid with you. I married a woman that ran around while she was married. This is an ex-wife, right? And I knew that. I knew she was high maintenance. I knew she ran around. I knew she could suck the chrome off a trailer hitch. I really, I was enamored with her beauty and stuff, but I knew what she was. Married her. And ironically, that's what I got. Right? Now, I ignored the truth, but I got the truth. I mean, think about that, which means I actually ultimately gave it permission to be in my life. It wasn't something that was done to me. It was something that I allowed. That's why you should never ignore the truth. And so I've learned the hard way, especially in business. You overlook people's idiosyncrasies, even geniuses, but you'll see different things. And if you just kind of gloss over it, sometimes it can come back to bite you. If you don't really, really, really understand the truthful part of it and be transparent with each other, okay? And so I personally speak the truth and am transparent. Now, most people get offended by that, especially in business. Most people get, I always tell people I'm a nerd hiding out in a biker's body, but somehow God gave me a face that makes me look like I want to beat your ass, then teach your ass. I can't change that. And yeah, I'm very intense because I'll look right at you, but it's not because I'm looking down at you or I'm trying to be intense with you. It's because I'm deaf. Yeah, if you could hear in the studio right now how much this is cranked up. All my family leaves the room when I'm watching TV because they can't do it, right? I'm deaf. I'm handicapped. So what it does is it means I look you straight in the eye, because I've learned through my peripheral vision to read your lips but not have to look at your lips, right? But some people take that as a mean stare. No, it's a handicap. But see, that's a good example when you learn the truth and you kind of understand what I'm about, and you learn to overlook that particular aspect of me in my life. So in covering this Mike Lindell stuff, and I'm going to show you some stuff today. You think I've shown you stuff that blow your socks off. I'm going to show you more. I got many people, probably 30-1 people reached out and said, good for you showing this. And boy, Mike is just hurting himself. What the hell is going on with Mike? But Mike needs to be the center of attention. That's Mike's choice. That's who Mike is. That's what Mike does. And Mike believes he can, talk his way through it. That didn't make him a bad guy. Those are just facts. However, I had other people get upset with me. And the trial right now is at jury. It's in jury trial right now. I don't know when they turn it over to the jury for decision. Maybe at the end of this week. I don't really know. But I had a we'll just say a media person on a certain network reach out to be frank with me. Basically, that I was disgusting for talking about Mike, and repeated a lie that Joe Altman started. So I reached out to this person and I said, wait a minute here. Number one, I'm only telling the truth. And that's what all of us should do. Because if we're going to fix this, we got to have the truth. And I said, the other part of it, isn't it ironic that Mike Lindell is sitting in the freaking hot seat, more than likely going to get a massive judgment against him based on one person's lie, Joe Altman, that has already caused $7 billion in lawsuits, almost $1 billion paid out, and you're repeating a lie he created about me. I said, isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic? Anyway. And so I have to tell you, it kind of bugged me. It bugged me in a different way. It bugged me in a different way because this person's educated, smart, has an incredible track record, but repeated something BS willy-nilly without any facts, especially without even talking to me about it. And so I got to thinking about that. Are we really at that point that we'll give somebody a pass because they look a certain way? Do we give them a pass because they wear a cross on the outside of the shirt? See, some people, and I'm going to share with you more bombs from testimony. Some people see a cross on an outside of the shirt, and I want you to grade me, folks. I want you to grade me. Please be very honest with me, okay? And I don't care which side you come down on. When I see somebody wearing a cross on the outside of their clothes, what I see is somebody who's projecting, somebody who is informing me and informing my mind as to what I should think about them. Right? I hate that. Auto shop puts up, oh, we're a Christian auto shop. I hate that because I think if you have to tell somebody you're a great Christian, you probably aren't. That's just me. So when I see that, I 100% know that's not a message about you. That is a message about what you want me to think about you. Now, some people see it differently. Oh, great Christian, great this, great that. And people use that. Podcasters will use that by mentioning God, mentioning Jesus, saying a prayer. And at the same time, as they mention a prayer, they're calling people retards and cunts. Now, I want you to think about that. That's being incongruent, which basically means it's just a bullshit show. Well, we're in this mix as all of this is going on with this Coomer versus Mike Lindell. So this person reached out, took a stab at me. Even when I said, you really should have the facts, still took another stab. Snide, took a stab. And it made me think about that. And so please put this in chat if you would. It's a simple question. Would you prefer that people that were in this fight were just team players? Or would you prefer that they actually had truth and transparency? For me, I only want and demand truth and transparency, no matter how much the truth and transparency hurts. I do not want team. People flipped out when I called out President Trump for the bank your ballot bullshit. And it took a while to get that not repeated by him. But the GOP demands it, and the GOP has a say. But it's total bullshit because it's really saying, let's keep early voting and let's keep mail-in ballots. It's a freaking con. That's the truth, and I'm being transparent about it. And even something like that with President Trump, I'll call it out. Because if I didn't, and if I was just a team player, I mean, you don't say anything bad about President Trump, you're disloyal, you're an ass, you're a Mossad, you're a, agent. No. See, a Mossad agent would say, oh, that's the greatest thing in the world you ever said, Mr. President. Yeah, bank the ballot. That's bullshit. And I'm not that. Most people are saying they want truth. Always. Truth and transparency. Always. Truth, I think, is what we have been missing in all of this. And you're right. We've got enough lies already. We have enough lies already. Okay? So with that, we're going to continue today on this review of Mike Lindell being sued by Eric Coomer. You have to decide what is your truth, because you got to remember, when I sit here and do this portion, I am only showing you what he said, and then I'm only doing three other things. I'm asking you how you feel about it. I'm telling you what I think about it, and I'm giving you the history behind it from my standpoint, my own personal experience. Right? One of the things we dealt with the full forensic audit in Arizona and the cyber symposium coming out when it did was it stopped full forensic audits in their tracks. Now, here's how it works. When you do a full forensic audit, the process goes as follows. Somebody has to have standing. It goes to the House for the state. They have to vote on it, approve it. Then it goes to the Senate for the Senate to approve it. That's how you get a full forensic audit, which basically means the lawmakers' names are on the project. Now, I learned with no regard to whether the House and the Senate voted on it in Arizona, the Democrats forbid any Democrats from working in the audit. In fact, they basically said, if you do, we'll run you out of town. I designed it to be, when you look at the peoples at the station, and let's just say the breakup, it had to be X, like if there were a few people at the table, one's got to be a Republican who voted Republican, one's got to be a Democrat who voted Democrat, one's got to be an independent that is an independent, and one's got to be somebody who didn't vote. So if there were four people, right? A Republican who voted Republican, not somebody who said I'm a Republican, somebody who can prove they voted Republican, somebody who proved they voted Democrat, somebody who proved they voted independent, somebody who didn't vote. Sometimes we forget that. So everything was designed to work in that ratio. And if you had 8 people at a table, you had 2 of each. See how it works? Well, I learned in the nasty business, the Democrats forbid any Democrats from being there and said, we'll run your ass out of town, we'll blackball you, whatever. Now, what happened is I learned why they did that. They did it because so they could just use the word, well, that was a partisan audit. It was partisan. It was just the Republicans. Well, it was total bullshit. Let me tell you why I wanted it. And the way I designed the audit, as each people checks things and you get to the end of a batch, they had to do an affidavit. That's how it was designed. So I have an affidavit from a Republican. I have an affidavit from a Democrat. I have an affidavit from an independent. And I have an affidavit from somebody who didn't vote. And all they're attesting to is the results of that batch. Because I knew they would fight us, right? And if you had, say, 500 of each of the types of people, I'm going to have 500 for the floor's worth of work of Republicans, Democrats, independents, and I didn't vote, all saying the same thing because I knew they would say it was BS, and I could go, look, there's 500 fucking Democrats that did this, that sat there and did it, and here's what they said. Get it? That's how it's designed, for truth and transparency. Well, they didn't let them do that, and that's how they in the press can play the game. It was a partisan effort. That's the games that play. So I'm about truth and transparency, so I'm going to share with you. So as we're going through this, and this was all fresh in everybody's minds, multiple states were going to do a full forensic audit and look at everything, look at the paperwork, because remember, if you focus on the machines, at best you're going to get a misdemeanor. And it can be a misdemeanor for 1 vote missing or 1 million vote missing. So it's still 1 misdemeanor. Deal in the paper, each individual ballot is a federal and state offense. So as many states are saying, we want to do a full forensic audit too, and the people are demanding it, all of a sudden this cyber symposium comes out. So people in the states said, well, what about those guys? Those are experts. I saw them on the infomercial. Well, Mike paid for all of those people to go to the states. Now, when they get to the states and they're dealing with lawmakers, those people said, full forensic audits are a grift. They take too much money. You don't have to do that. They said, just canvass. And if you remember, they set up Telegram groups. They had a canvass group for every state. What we ended up with was only 1 full forensic audit that could show everything, when we should have had 5, because you would have seen the same things that got killed because they saw people on TV who weren't experts. So the lawmakers used that. Here's how they used it. Oh, wait a minute. If we canvass first, yeah, you should canvass first. Full forensic audits to grift. Well, why should we canvass? Well, if you canvass and you find something's wrong, then you can do a full forensic audit later. So what it did is it let the lawmakers off the hook from signing an agreement to do a full forensic audit, which takes their requirement. So now the lawmakers are off the hook, and the canvassing blew the time clock. It was a time hack. So all the ballots and everything get destroyed in 22 months. I've always had heartburn with that because we lost. We lost a chance to have multiple full forensic audits. And that's how you want to show widespread and intrastate coordination and everything else. And by the way, canvassing does not stand up in court. And it's just because you do a canvass, you still have to sue and hope you get into court. So it stopped everything. And I called those people out for doing that, Dr. Frank, etc. Well, damned if we don't find out in court yesterday, Mike Lindell was the funder of the canvassing. I knew his people said full forensic audits were grift, Dr. Frank and stuff. I have it on tape. Lawmakers were calling me. Why is this Lindell's guy saying? And I could read you a text on my phone. They're all saved on my phone. Why? Because when I heard Dr. Frank said that, I called Dr. Frank and I said, hey, have you ever heard this on the road? People are saying full forensic audits or grift, don't do it in canvas. And Dr. Frank says, no. I'm not hearing that. I said, will you tell me if you hear it on the road? He says, I'll tell you if I hear it on the road. It happened again. Now, each time I'm getting feedback, text from lawmakers saying it's Dr. Frank saying this. So I text Dr. Frank again. I said, hey, I'm hearing this again, saying full forensic audits are a grift. And don't do it. Canvass first. He says, well, I've kept my ear open like you asked me, and I'm not hearing that. He goes, I'm surprised you're hearing that. And I said, okay, well, let me drop the facade. It's you, and here's who told me. I said, the first time I texted you, I knew it was you. And then he came back with, well, you're just doing full forensic audits because you want to get paid to do them, and you're a patriot, and I just don't think that's right. So damned if we don't find out in court, right, that it was Mike Lindell underwriting the canvassing. Now, that kind of just, for me personally, puts just another piece on this, right? Just another piece on this. Now, another thing was, everywhere we're trying to do things a certain way and not do it about machines, because why would you want a $500 or a $1,000 fine? You want these rat bastards to go to jail. I'm always running into these same teams until we find out in court. Let's see, hang on. That one doesn't apply. Sorry, it didn't have one. It said Mike dedicated years, and did he ever ask Coomer to come on? Right. So never asked me to come on. Somebody says, I saw you on Lindell TV. You saw me on Frank TV on somebody else's show that I did on Rumble that they happened to run on Frank TV. You didn't see me interview with Mike or Mike's show or anything. Never happened. So as I start reading what Mike said at trial, and Ash in America, Ash has been doing a fantastic job because there's no recording or anything like that. And she's kind of keeping notes and keeping up. And I've often wondered, there's Sean Smith online. Now, he came out of nowhere. Once again, came out of nowhere, military guy. Somehow he was in DC January 6th with these same people. Various people, like, Joe Altman was there, and he invited people from his FEC to be there. People from FEC that he created got arrested, but Joe didn't for being there. Well, the Sean Smith's the same thing. He was at January 6th, right there in the middle of it. Nothing done. But a lot of good patriots went down. So I'm trying to go, this doesn't make sense. Anyway, and we saw this Colonel Sean Smith with Tina. When Tina came. Now, we're now led to believe by Mike that was organic. He didn't know they were coming. Well, when Tina came up, you had Colonel Smith come up because he's in Colorado. How was her team supporting her there if, in fact, she wasn't going to speak? Which Mike says, I didn't know. She decided that. I didn't ask her to speak, which is totally antithesis of what everybody said. But damned if I didn't find out that Mike funded Cause of America. I knew there was a relationship there. But Mike funded it. So I got to looking at this early on, and I alluded to this before. We started seeing all of these names of different election integrity. That's why I make the joke. I'm patriot, integrity. You're not patriot enough. And somebody comes out with patriot. And there's a patriot, all trying to top each other. And so it looked like all of these different organizations were trying to work in different areas in different states. And then I found out Mike funded them all. Isn't that just kind of odd? And so the one guy who won't come on with me, calls me names online, gave all the way up to President Trump's office horrible advice. Damn it, Mike Lindell actually funded the creation of that. So no wonder they just defend Mike. By the way, Kentucky Pride, thank you so very much for that generous donation and to our work. And thank you. Oh, by the way, this is going to get really hairy, so stay with me. I'm just kind of giving you some prep. But here's what's really interesting, something I didn't know. I don't know how I missed it. Did you know Ash Epp, who is doing this incredible reporting on the ground, she was one of the founders of Cause of America. I had no idea. But I'm trying to figure out what happened in Cause of America that had Sean Smith boot Hawley and boot Ash. Isn't that weird? I didn't know that. But again, it's another organization, different name, but actually founded by Mike Lindell. And all of them came after everybody started calling out the PCAPs as crap. A whole rash of new efforts popped up, and damned if Mike wasn't the funder. Okay, so now we're going to get into some more meat. I'm only telling you what I learned on this journey. All kinds of liberals are now commenting on my Twitter right now. Say, you got sucked in, you got whatever. And I said, no, I wasn't sucked in. I always said PCAPs were shit. I always said the Cyber Symposium was shit. You can go back and check me on that. I said, I'm just learning more shit than I ever thought. Right? But even if you look at the canvassing effort, great people, thousands of you helped in the Arizona audit. Thousands of you helped push this through. 60,000 of you pushed the Arizona audit to get the full forensic audit. Pushed the Senate, I mean. You got it done. Well, thousands of you got involved in canvassing, but when you look at it, you had to sign non-disclosure agreements that you couldn't talk about what you found. All kinds of people had busy work, went out there knocking on doors, right? Canvassing. Mike funded it. And none of that canvass information has been released. None of that canvass information went anywhere. None of the people that can canvass can talk about it. They're sitting in our chat right now. They'll tell you, I have a non-disclosure. I can't talk about it. Well, if you're canvassing to figure out what happened in elections, why in the hell would you have to sign a non-disclose? Isn't that weird? Isn't that just weird? This is about truth and transparency. But it kind of looks like the team got control of canvassing. It's going to get juicy here in a minute. So in reading through Mike's testimony, I'm going to go back in time. I was infiltrated in November of 2020, right when I came out, and my stuff went viral. It's easy. We're going to look for the folds. I can develop technology to do it. You know the story. I got infiltrated, and I found out who the infiltrator was, and it was this fellow, Russ Ramsland, and his team. And all they were doing was getting intel from me. While they were going around saying they want to do audits must be done with them. Right? This is this fellow, Russ Ramsland. Fucking A, Mike funded him. Right? Mike's money went to Russ Ramsland. Russ Ramsland is the one that, if you talk to people, modified the Antrim County report that they're trying to put Matt DePerno in jail for. He put out the report that was wrong. It tanked the report. All of their guys are good, but they're going after Matt DePerno. Isn't that weird? Again, I didn't know this. I'm only sharing with you what I learned. Why in the hell These guys infiltrated me. These guys, Ramsland, started planting a story in 2017 that your vote's going to a foreign country and they're changing it. Ramsland was the source of the Vote Swapping International. That was Ramsland back in 2017 getting this set up. Infiltrated me, was working against me under the radar, completely blew up Antrim County, did the same thing in Antrim County. Somehow the data from the machines got out, got online. We don't know how it got on the dark web. And the government's coming after Matt DePerno, wanting to lock him up, which is exactly what they did to Tina Peters. And I'll be damned. In court, we find out Mike Lindell was funding them. Let me see what this one is real quick. Hang on. Okay. And you know, I was talking about Cause of America. I had these in wrong order. But this is how I found out Cause of America, because Mike said, ready? He said they were trying to get to Matt Crane and blah, blah, blah. But Mike answered this way, but we reached out to him several times. Our president of Cause of America. I knew Lindell had promoted people as auditors and stuff. And it was this statement that our president that I had to dig in and find out, was he funding it? Anyway, remember Azog in a minute, because you got to remember two things. In the combination of the Dominion stuff, there is Allied Security Services Group or whatever. That's Azog. That's Russ Ramsland, Colonel Phil Waldron, etc. The source of saying the votes went overseas and it was China, the source of that, remember those little video sequences and you see this doing stuff? The source of that was Azog. Remember that. Basically saying packets from the election, that's called PCAPs, were being sent to servers. You saw that video. Were being sent to servers, all these little colored lines. And you could look at the world, it was going bounce, 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 bounce like that. Well, the source of that and the source of that report, it's going overseas, was Azog. Remember that. Remember that Dennis Montgomery and Mary Fanning, they're the source of Hammer and Scorecard. Okay, they're two different things. Hammer and Scorecard are supposedly what is used to change the votes. And what Azog released is this little, because you got to get it somewhere else to change it so it can be changed and sent back. You get it? It takes two. Okay. So just put a pin in Azog for a moment. Allied Security Operations Group. Thank you. Azog, A-Z-O-G. Okay. That's who I told you in December of 2020 that I think I've been infiltrated, right? And I cut them to the curb quick. Now, let's go to Dennis Montgomery real quick for a moment. They asked in court, did Montgomery give you information that you're using? And here's Lindell's answer. I hadn't met him yet. I had to vet him. I did vet him, and he was beyond a cyber expert in my mind. Worked with Department of Homeland Security, worked with the CIA, and then he said, the defense, you know, inside running Ratcliffe, I think now runs CIA now, I think, maybe, had just published an issue with China. Remember, Mike said he read something on China? And so I vetted Montgomery, and then he gave me 4 pages. So you have the quote. Hang on. You're going to love this. In previous testimony, Mike said, well, he knew of Montgomery and other people vetted him. Didn't go back to my other programs. Now Mike said, I vetted him. I did vet him. He was beyond a cyber expert in my mind. I found it really interesting because, see, a lot of this is keywording. I've talked to you about keywording. Oh, I met with Pompeo. There's a lot of keywording that goes on. You only hear big names and you float across the rest. Well, Mike in that same testimony said the following. They're going back to this Ty Clevenger, Zulo, Sheriff Aparo letter that says Montgomery had convinced Lindell. And they asked, is it true that Montgomery convinced you? And Mike says, no, it's not true. I had experts for months validate the data. Then he actually says something really interesting. I went to the White House to verify Montgomery was real. I saw on Fox News, boom. Now, this is just a really interesting statement. In the same breath, he says, on one testimony, others vetted him. Here he's saying he vetted him. He's saying he's beyond a cyber expert in my mind. And then he conveniently drops, well, you know, I had experts validate the data Dennis gave me. Well, he just said and that Dennis gave him 4 pages. Now, think about that. He says in court, he vetted Dennis. He found him to be an expert cyber guy. And then Dennis gave him 4 pages. Because we know he never got all the PCAPs. We know he never had it. He admitted that in court. He never got them. He admitted that in court. He told us all he had every state, every county. Well, it's 4 pages. Right behind that, we already know there was no fucking PCAPs. I'm sorry, but there was none. Now, this is where I'm trying to, and folks, I'm only trying to understand this. And I'm doing this because I think all of us get affected by this. All of us get affected by this. Now we're hearing in court many things. Mike never had the PCAPs. Then he said somebody else stole it. Then they say there was a poison pill in it, which was made up. In court, he admits he never has it. They show texts between him and Fanning going, we're going to be in trouble. I don't have any of this. We got to get it. And when it comes down to it, the only connection you could make is he was given 4 pages, and that's what he vetted, 4 pages. But listen to what Mike told all of us.
These are the best in the world. These guys, and we're going to end up with about 120, the way it looks like. And you're right. We have over 200 politicians right now. They're representing over 30 states, and then we have all the media coming. And what we're going to do, Steve, is we're going to have like 4 different sections set up. One of them is the first thing we're going to do is pass out the states to the cyber forensic expert. What I mean by that is the raw data, the packet captures and the data from that whole state. So,
okay, I'm going to play the whole thing. He's never named the experts ever. He just told us every state, the raw data. Every state, the raw data. You got it? And he tells you we got it. We're going to show everybody. The lawmakers will get a copy. They can take it back to their own cyber guys. Their cybers can do it. You heard that, right? Well, it comes down to 4. And he said he had experts review it for months. What were they reviewing? Because he just admitted he only got 4 pages. And we already know there were no PCAPs. I've got to give you a few more pieces, and then I'm going to have you put this together, okay? So he says that Montgomery's an incredible cyber expert. He said he had experts for months validating the data. And then randomly he drops, I went to the White House to verify that Montgomery was real. It kind of implies that the White House approved Montgomery, but they didn't. Hang on, it gets even better. So hold on. Just truly bear with me. And I'm sorry I have to put these pieces together, but I need your help. Just helping me figure this shit out. Because in that statement in court, Mike keyworded like he went to the White House and the White House somehow said Dennis Montgomery's real. That's not what happened. So let's look at Dennis Montgomery's bio. The Dennis Montgomery attended Grossmont College, and he is a medical technician. That's it. Now, if you look at other things about him, self-taught, and there's no reason you can't be a fucking genius self-taught. Einstein was self-taught, right? Tesla was self-taught. And says he has development experience of eTrepid, being a CTO. Says he had a security clearance of different ones. Here it is, etc. Okay? But his professional training is he's a medical technician. It's kind of like saying you're a systems engineer, which we've heard before, but there's nothing to prove you're a systems engineer. Dennis Montgomery swears he's a systems engineer, but he has no systems engineer training. Where have we heard that before? I'm a systems engineer. I develop plans and systems. Well, Dennis Montgomery kind of does that thing too. Okay? When you dig deeper in Dennis Montgomery, you find out many things that after numerous investigations, and we're talking government investigations, we're talking third-party investigations, all of that stuff, eTrepid, all of that other stuff, the technology part of it is total bullshit. Period. Total bullshit. And that everything from those technology things always had lawsuits associated with them because they were taking money from the government. Now, put a pin in it. He did have a partner who had a company. That partner was approved and could get government contracts. The partner, a wealthy guy, had numerous government contracts. So what it looks like is kind of like clout chasing. This guy got government contracts and had a business about government contracts. This Dennis Montgomery somehow comes in, basically inserts himself in the other person's company stories, starts taking credit for it all. I'm a system here. I developed this. I'm a big tech CEO. And so he kind of got his credentials from afar by clout chasing. But all of that blew up and got in trouble. Okay? Now, here's the things I'm asking you to remember. I'm asking you to remember that Azog, all the votes went overseas, Italy, Germany, China. That's Azog. Hammer and scorecard, Dennis Montgomery, Mary Fanning. Provable by PCAPs. Now, I found out something a little interesting in this is Mike did say that, he was asked from the attorney, asked about info and evidence you received from sources in other countries specific to Dominion. Was there anything specific? His answer here was kind of interesting. Okay. Mike said, yes, Venezuela. That was the birth of the machines. Well, we kind of all knew that. But the question was, what specific did you learn from other sources in other countries? Well, Mike says Venezuela. And then he goes on to say that was the birth of the machines. That's just kind of like getting points on the board. But then he says he hired an investigative firm and a guy in Canada named Brent. And he found that Dominion was headquarters in Canada. I found that by looking at their website. Mike found that by hiring an investigator and a guy and paying him $800,000. We knew there was Venezuela stuff talked about. We knew Dominion was a Canadian company. You knew it. I knew it. Do we need to send an invoice, each of us, to Mike Lindell? You'll think he'll pay us $800,000 to tell him that? Again, this one I don't get. Was there anything specific that you learned? Here's what he learned. Here is his answer about what he learned. He heard from Venezuela. That was the birth of the machine. So that's one thing he learned. He did this because he hired an investigative firm and a guy in Canada named Brent, and found what they found was Dominion was headquartered in Canada. Actually, in a place where I would go up to the shipping channel. So these guys found Dominion's address. We hired, which is kind of interesting. He said Kurt Olson made all these decisions. He slipped and said we hired. He changed it to, well, Kurt Olson did. Oops. And spent $800,000 into an investigation into Dominion. Does any of that make any sense to you? In any of it? Does any of that make any sense to you? I found the machine started in Venezuela. I found Dominions in Canada, and they're right there by shipping lane I used to go through. They found Dominion's address. This just like totally befuddled me. It gets worse. So apparently Mike spent $800,000. I guess you got to be charged a huge honky to believe that they really have something of value. But here's an interesting one. Check this out, and here's where it's going to get very interesting. Lindell's attorney says, talk about what you learned from Dennis Montgomery. Now, I want you to pay very close attention. Very close. You got it? Pay very close attention. This one might be worth taking notes for. Let me just calm down a bit. So Mike's attorney is asking him, talk about what you learned from Dennis Montgomery. Quote, Lindell says, It's a massive computer built to steal elections in other countries. Had to get the information to the White House. Tried to get Montgomery to get evidence, but he couldn't because he is under government protective order. Same reason General Flynn couldn't be here to testify, because he's under the same order. Interesting name drop. Let's go back. Hold on. Tell us about what you learned about Dennis Montgomery. Well, it's a massive computer to steal elections in other countries. A massive computer to steal elections in other countries. Had to get that information to the White House. Now, of course, you know what he's talking about is hammer and scorecard. God, I hate what I'm about to show you. Literally, I feel sick to my stomach right now. Anyway, it says it's a massive computer. Had to get it to the White House. They need to know, but I can't because it's under a protective order. This is the hammer and scorecard. Hammer and scorecard are software, not a computer. Hammer and scorecard are software. Hammer is a brute forcing program, and scorecard is a command and control program. That's all they are. And many people, and you're hearing from Josh Merritt here, you're going to hear from other experts. Many people have seen this source code for supposedly what's supposed to be hammer and scorecard. Okay? Almost everybody says it's bullshit. It's questionable. So Mike testified that what he learned from Dennis Montgomery is there's a big supercomputer changing the votes. It's a big supercomputer. You learn from Azog, it's got to go over to C's and they got to send it back. Well, let's just look at the pieces. If you're going to believe the election was stolen and you're going to make everybody believe it, what do you have to have? Well, how about if I give you an executive of the software company saying, don't worry, we've taken care of Trump. He's not going to fucking win. Well, we got that piece, don't we? Proven to be false. Well, if they said they're going to do it, you need proof to do it. Boom, Azog. Oh, it goes overseas. You got that little piece. Well, that just means it went overseas. You got to show it did something. Let's add it to hammer and scorecard. And then it ran hammer and scorecard over here, and then it sent it back. But that's not really proof. That's just a statement. Well, we got the PCAPs. Do you see how all 5 pieces fit together? Let me go backwards. It begins with a voting system company executive, because I infiltrated an Antifa phone call. I heard him say, don't worry about Trump. He ain't going to fucking win. We made sure of it. You have an admission. You have an admission. Then after you get the admission, you got to start building up a plausible way to do it. Well, we have this little report and this animation that goes, look, it's going to Italy, it's going to China. And you remember that? Bink, 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 bink. So now you got that. That's ASOC. Well, then it has to do something, because all internet can pop around, because, you know, it can be set to, it goes here to here to here just to find the quickest path. Well, there is this thing called hammer and scorecard, and it's designed to do this. Here's the machine where they do it in Germany which, by the way, Azog was saying in 2016 and 17. Azog. So now we got a machine sitting over here, and Mike's got all the data everywhere. So you see how that proved the continuous loop that this happened. Do you understand the elements? Do you understand the elements? Well, Hammer and Scorecard is not a supercomputer, as Mike said, at all. Okay? It is brute force software, period. It's software, not a machine. It's software. Well, let me introduce you to Robert Graham. Robert Graham is the one that did all the tech science behind this investigation. And basically, he said, okay, we accessed the Syntractor programs. We wrote this program from the Cyber Symposium. By the way, there was no special program to do it. Okay. It's written in CNET++, right? C++. And to make it more readable, it's basically bullshit. It's actually designed to take data and make data look more confusing. That it's a software designed to make something deliberately confusing, meaning you can't really make heads or tail of it, so you can see anything about it or say anything about it. Got it? Except there's one problem. Yes, I code in BS, not BS is the file. So basically, everybody looking at this stuff, true experts, seen the data and everything, say, wait a minute, this is a program to make CVS data look stupidly confusing, and it doesn't need it. But then there's another problem. The other problem is this. Here's the program that created the PCAPs. You put in the IP, you put where you want it to go, you tell it what to do, what country, whatever you want to go, and you output it as a file. It's a modeler. You say, I want Reston, Virginia to go to Bangkok, to go to Serbia, and here's the IPs I want it to hit, and then I want it to come back. This is Dennis Montgomery's program, and it puts out PCAPs that you make up on your own. This is Dennis Montgomery's program. Now, I've known this for a very long time. I've known this for a very, very, very long time. I just wasn't to the point that I would say, here's the fucking program they did it with. But I have even a bigger problem. Because we found out that Mike Lindell paid millions for this, and he paid Dennis Montgomery $100,000 a month. 1 second. Just got to get my shit straight. I'm going to show you this in real time. So this is Dennis Montgomery's program on his website. Hidden. They since took a lot of this down. It's all copied, all protected. A lot of us have held on to it for a very long time. Here is the program or you tell it where you want it to go, what you want it to do. And no, Dennis Montgomery hasn't testified. He's not showing up. They're just playing clips from his deposition. All the years, several decades of doing this stuff, he has never actually showed up in court. So I'm going to show you something in real time. This is the website where it exists. Okay? And yeah, I had a limb and sweat and allergies smacked me under the lip. This is the website, Blixware. Now, I don't know if you can read it. Let me see if I can zoom it up. MTG enables organizations of all size and types of experience, and the benefits result from our 30 years in cybersecurity, AI software development, proven track record to move AI computing from the cloud to the edge, blah, 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 blah. Get disruptive insights, a feature that you didn't know existed, cyber protection, clear and present danger. I added the context there. Now, why am I showing you this site? Well, that's where this program's home originally was. That's Dennis Montgomery's website. And you see all those credentials. When Mike said he vetted Dennis Montgomery, he'd done defense, he's done commercial, he's done mobile, he does power, he does cyber. He basically means he looked at Dennis Montgomery's website. However, if you go back in time, hang on. Pop up for me. Damn it. I should have screen captured this. Are you seeing this change in, I don't even have it on screen. I'm sorry. I'm trying to, there it is. Okay. So here you go. Way back when, maybe it goes here. See, is that when I got it? Hang on, can't be displayed. Go here. Hopefully you're seeing this. Hang on. Some of these are loading really bad. If you go back in time, this website starts talking about the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, domestic surveillance stuff, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is what supposedly Dennis Montgomery was a whistleblower for. Well, he got paid $20 million to go back to the site. And it has all these key names: Comey, FBI, James Baker, hundreds of thousands of documents, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Number of Americans hacked, number of businesses hacked, number of attorneys and law firms hacked. Okay. Well, this is Dennis Montgomery's site that when he got in trouble, supposedly, right? And this ain't WikiLeaks, baby. He started putting out this stuff. But I don't know if you can see this. It was, and you can see maybe at the top of my screen, it was all dark. Did that go up on yours? Yeah, it was all dark for years until you get to Mike. And you look for these little blue dots here. And when you pull it up, I got to go one more over. Maybe here. As soon as you get in, hang on, I got to, you basically, flying drones. Blixware, drone surveillance, object detection, identification and tracking technology, finds lost children, hikers, hiding the enemy. Subs, ORCA, subsurface anomaly detection, ORCA. CEDD, computer enhanced data delivery. Well, as soon as he's about to be introduced to Mike Lindell, here comes all of this on the site. Right? Here it is. All this name dropping, advanced video compression, Colossus. Now, this is where Mike uses the latest Hammer advanced AI engine. He's basically, this is Dennis Montgomery, right? This is Dennis Montgomery saying that he has advanced compression, saying he has computers, saying that it uses Hammer, which he supposedly says, well, the government has, not him. Well, it's him. Hey, contact us. We'll give you a demo. Ruh-roh. Gets even worse. Hang on. Let me just find better dates. So that's where the flying drone technology comes from. Okay. And then as all of this stuff really heats up and we hit the world of Dennis Montgomery, and now everybody knows his name, right? That's when it morphs to that website I first showed you where it's all this other stuff. It's literally changing in process. Says crap to validate Montgomery. Mike buys in. Then it becomes all this other stuff. Now, remember I told you got to tie everything together? Here you go. We've now shown you this is where the PCAPs were created. Mike testified he had 4 pages of information. Although he said he had all this verified, he never had the PCAPs. He had 4 pages of information. That information was created here. Except in Mike's story, when he took it to be verified, he said he took it to be verified. He says, I had my own expert, Conan Hayes. Now, I want you to remember that Dennis Montgomery supposedly can't testify because he's protected by the government. Conan Hayes, who was a surfer, again, no background you can verify. A lot of these people come from nowhere. You cannot verify their backgrounds. This is where Mike says, well, I had my own guy. Now, remember, Conan's supposedly the dolphin speaker. Remember, Conan is the fellow who got Tina Peters maybe to give him a badge or use a different name, and he got the data, which Dr. Frank told Tina, well, don't worry, we got guys who can get the data. Well, that was Conan, but all of that got leaked. All of that got leaked, which is what put Tina in jail. Go back to Azog. Matt DePerno, good guy, he got access to the stuff by court. Oh, but that got leaked on the dark web. That red team was Joe Altman. And so here's what Mike says. What do you mean by red team? Narrative about cyber expert. Kurt told me what a red team was. Cyber experts to validate as we go. I had my own expert, Conan Hayes, who was going to do the cyber work, but these guys were another layer. We only had part of the data, 4 pages. Now listen to this very carefully. We only had part of the data. We only had part of the data that had to be put in the Cyber Act. We don't have the rest of it. So Mike again says he only has part of the data. And he says it had to be put in the Cyber Act. Now, right now, Lone Raccoon, all these people are telling you, well, Dennis Montgomery can't testify and the PCAPs are are locked up in the Cyber Act and can't be reviewed till the government sees it, right? So they've given Dennis Montgomery excuse. They've given an excuse for the PCAPs. Well, that's where all it is. They had to have a place for it to go. There's only 4 pages that's been turned over. But they had to say, oh, well, it had to be stored. Well, here's how it works. Ready? So they get asked, well, do you have them then or now? He says, no, it's still under seal. Lindell says, so it's still protected under national security protection, and you couldn't present the full set of data at the cyber symposium, could you? Now, here you go. He says, did you have all the data? Now, Mike didn't say this to us. He had said he had it all. But what Mike is saying here, I want to refresh your memory. Here is the call to donate money. We're going to show it all. Listen.
These are the best in the world. These guys, and we're going to end up with about 120 the way it looks like. And you're right. We have over 200 politicians right now. They're representing over 30 states. And then we have all the media coming. And what we're going to do, Steve, is we're going to have like 4 different sections set up. One of them is, the first thing we're going to do is pass out the states to the cyber forensic expert. What I mean by that is the raw data, the packet captures and the data from that whole state. So we give it to, let's say, a group of 10 of these experts. Now, they don't know each other, and they're all going to dig in, and they're going to go validate this data. Then we're going to have another section where I've already had the data validated. I have it all, and the packet captures. It's going to call it a cyber center. To the right of the main stage is going to be all these computers where a senator can actually, or a politician can go up there, put in the name of his state, or put in a county, or put in whatever he wants, the whole election, and then out's going to come the real count, what really.
Okay, the whole election, put in his state, put in his county, lawmakers put it in. It's going to give the raw data. It's going to show the actual real outcome of the election. Are you with me? Now, Mike is doing a trial right now by jury, testifying. Here is his testimony. His attorney says, well, do you have the information? Did they have it all then? Did they have it then or now? And Mike Lindell says, no, it's still under seal. These are Mike words, not mine. Then Lindell attorney says, so it's still protected under national security protection, and you couldn't present the full data at the cyber symposium. Now, Mike just testified, no, I couldn't present it at the cyber symposium because it's protected. You just heard Mike, raise, fun, do. They're going to see it for every state. Now, here's another kicker. Lindell answers, yes, reference Cyber Act of 2015. We would have to put it out there anonymously. When I got to Texas with the hard drive, that's where I met Josh Merritt and Russ Ramsland. First I met them, Kurt Olson was with me. And he was told, all of this has to be put into the Cyber Act of 2015. It's got to be in there anonymously. You got to lock it all up. Are you with me so far? So now we know that even though Mike claimed he had everything, and Mike claimed a lawmaker could look at their state, look at their county, get the data, pull the data, give it to their cyber guys to validate it. We have all the data for the election. He testifies in court, well, no, he didn't. It was locked up. It had to be locked up. Well, what about this act? Well, the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act of 2015, an anonymous cyber threat indicators are allowed, but it's not required. No, submissions do not have to be anonymous. So he's told, that he has to put it into CISA, okay? That he has to put it into CISA. And Mike testifies that they had to put it there anonymously. Okay? He says this is all subject to CISA and that it had to be put there anonymously. You with me? So Mike is saying before, on court now asked, even though he said he had it all, Mike admits, I didn't have it all. I had a few pages. Supposedly it had to be protected under this act. So I didn't have it for the symposium, but he told you had it. Then we get to the symposium. It shifts instantly from PCAPs to, oh, look over here, we're being attacked. Oh, look over here, it's Code Monkey says, well, that was stolen from Tina. Oh, look over here, it had a poison pill. Tina, talk. Proof of fraud, no PCAPs. Now you find out, right? Now you find out that that act is not required to be anonymous. You can submit it directly, including identifying that, or you can do it indirectly or anonymously, where you got it from feeds of third parties. Okay? And any of the shared data, anonymous or not, can only be used for specific purposes as cybersecurity protection. Well, that's what he was trying to do. Investigating certain cyber crimes. Well, that's what he was trying to do. Or protecting against imminent threats. So now you realize it's designed to actually investigate the very stuff that Mike said. And you find out, he said, well, no, we had to do it anonymously. That's how it's done. When you find out it's fucking voluntary. So that doesn't jive either. That it's locked under lock and key and it can't be seen and it can't be sequestered. Well, who runs that when Mike was doing this? This guy, see CISA, who said this was the most secure election ever. Had to be the Cyber Act of 2015, had to be put there. Well, the Cybersecurity Information Act is not required to be anonymous. You don't have to remove data. It's used specifically for protection, investigating certain crimes, protect against imminent threats. Mike says he can't release it because it's protected, got locked up. This is the agency. This is the fellow who came out before the election was over and said it's the most secure election ever. Do with this what you will. I'm only giving you facts based on testimony. If there wasn't testimony, I wouldn't be able to show you these things. Testimony is what is helping me kind of understand what happened. But just like the USAID, we paid for this shit. We paid for this too. This is concerning. Once again, another day of testimony. Nothing washes. Same people, same freaking circle jerk in all these places and everywhere, and a shitload of money changing hands. And we're told today by raccoons and others who swear I looked at it all. Mr. Raccoon, I looked at it all. I verified it all. Oh my God, it's like a unicorn. Never, ever, ever, ever. And the excuse now they try to cover it. Well, it had to be put in there anonymously. It had to be protected. Bullshit. Share this program. I love you all.
This crazy world is telling you your sons can be daughters and your daughters can be your sons. When will the madness stop? Never. So you have to decide, will you comply or defy? They tell us all, you will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible. This bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality full color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once. And have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your families for decade after decade. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. Side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres, the Food Forest Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, softcover, or ebook. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system.